right, well, thank you everybody for joining us today for the industry update. This will be our last one this year, and we'll be starting back up on January 5th with the new year. But I wanted again to ask everyone to please make sure to mute your lines during the webinar and to use the chat feature for asking any questions. And with that, I'm going to pass this on to John to start us off.
Well, thank you very much, Hope. And again, thanks to all of you for joining us today, and particularly to your presenter, Zak Pyzik, who I'll introduce in just a moment. But before we get started, I'd like to remind you that the information that you're going to receive today is for the use and benefit of our restaurant, hotel, travel and tourism members, non-members, partners in the industry, and friends of PRLA. And it's not designed for press purposes. It's off the record. And if you're with the press, please give us a call. We're happy to talk with you at any time, but not on this call today. And also, before I turn it over to Zak, I'd like to wish everyone here, since we won't see you again this year, and since I may not have an opportunity later in the call, a very happy holidays. It's been a rough couple of years we've been through, and we're certainly deserving of some joy and happiness and good health, not only for the holidays, but for 2022. So with that, I'm pleased to introduce Zak Pyzik, PRLA Director of Government Affairs. Take it away, Zak.
Well, thank you very much, John, and appreciate that introduction. And good morning, everyone. Happy Webinar Wednesday. It's really great to be here. I hope everyone had a nice holiday. Such a great time of the year. The only complaint I have is that every holiday seems to go a little too quick. For those who don't know, I am a Michigan grad, and so I know my Penn State friends and fans out there probably won't like this, but at least we can all agree on one thing from this past week, and it was nice to see Ohio State lose. Anyway, lots of updates across the board to cover today. We're going to be covering some federal, some state, some local, and just a few in general need to knows. First up, federal updates. The new COVID-19 variant, Omicron, and I hope I'm not mispronouncing that. It's been a hard name for me to get down. The Omicron has been in the news a lot lately. This particular variant is said to have been first identified in South Africa, though it might have been in Europe prior and just not identified yet. The World Health Organization has deemed it of concern based on findings that suggest a large number of mutations and a high risk of infection rates. There are some countries in Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and elsewhere that have imposed travel restrictions from Southern Africa. It is still unknown how effective the current vaccines are against this variant particularly. There have been no cases reported here yet from what I understand, but the question doesn't really seem to be if, but rather when. This has led to the city and state governments across the nation kind of taking the position of we're closely monitoring it right now, and they're keeping us all updated. We haven't heard of any serious talk about mitigation right now, at least not in Pennsylvania. Not even sure how the governor would approach that, given the results of the recent election and the referendum. Biden did just recently say, as of yesterday, that there will be no new travel restrictions as of now. The big question, though, does this new variant and any new variant in the future diminish trust in dining out and diminish trust in traveling? And that's what we're focused on over at the PRLA and our national partners as well. And that's why we're constantly reminding our legislators that recovery for this industry will likely take years. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. Things are not just simply going to go back to normal. And that's something we want to make sure we keep front of mind. As officials closely monitor the situation, we'll continue to closely monitor them, closely monitoring the situation over at PRLA. And any updates we get, we will make sure you're aware of. Make sure, if you don't already, that you subscribe to our daily update so that you can make sure you're getting the most up-to-date news and updates on this subject and other issues impacting the industry. The Build Back Better plan and RRF. So as a reminder, and for those who weren't available for our last webinar, President Biden has passed and signed an infrastructure deal. And so that's $1.2 trillion. It was a bipartisan package of legislation. There's $18 billion coming to Pennsylvania. Very exciting stuff, especially for many of our tourism partners. There could potentially be some railroad extensions. Amtrak is set to receive $66 billion of that $1.2 trillion package. And so there could be tons allocated for improvement projects, rail extensions like the rail project that they've discussed for a decade now from Scranton to New York City, also from Reading to New York City. And there's a lot of conversation about what might happen to the Amtrak rails in Philadelphia. This is an issue PRLA is keeping a close eye on. Conversations on these issues have been happening in these areas for years. The Northeast, I know, has had this, since the early 2000s. And these are conversations we're involved in. We'll continue to keep you updated as we hear more info on that. I know a lot of members have been reaching out to me with questions on that subject. And so the Build Back Better plan, Biden's spending plan, is still in the works. This is a very ambitious spending package that obviously has support from many progressives. The deadline they've set to pass this is Christmas. The House passed the $1.7 trillion plan on November 19th along party lines. It was 220 to 213. I think there might have been one Democrat that voted no, and you might get ready to ask who was that one Democrat. I apologize. I do not know who the one Democrat was, but like I said, it mostly passed the House on party line votes. That's not unexpected. The bigger challenge is going to be in the Senate. So this legislation includes $555 billion for climate initiatives, $109 billion for universal pre-K, $150 billion for affordable housing. Just to give you a little bit of a taste of what's included there. Something else on Congress's agenda. They need to pass a continuing resolution this week in order to extend spending. And right now, government spending is set to expire at the end of this week. And so by Friday, they would have to pass this CR. It's something that they have to do in order to avoid a shutdown. The question is, obviously on their minds, how much do they want to spend? Republicans want to keep Trump level numbers. Democrats want to spend more. The common guess right now is that they're likely going to kick the can down the road and pass a CR that extends that deadline to mid-January. This is big news and big to us, and we're following it closely. Why? Because it's something they could attach RRF funding to. You could attach RRF replenishment to a CR. The bill is likely being written right now for that CR. They want to pass it by Friday. It's unlikely that RRF would be included in the CR that they're going to pass this week, but it could perhaps be attached to the CR when it expires next in January. And so that's one of the many possible vessels out there. And look, we won't stop fighting for RRF. There is no clear path forward, unfortunately, but we are still pushing the issue. There is also a chance that Congress can take it on in a small business relief package that I know some Democrats have been discussing on the Hill. They floated that around in the past. The NRA has been driving that conversation. But if something like that were to happen, it would likely include other businesses as well, such as gyms and hair salons. Next, for the federal update, Biden's emergency temporary standard. So the ETS, the emergency temporary standard, would require employers with 100 plus employees to mandate vaccines or weekly testing. The future of the ETS remains uncertain. I said this at the last webinar as well. Legal challenges, as expected, have mounted. It'll likely take several more weeks until a final judicial decision is known. We are recommending that restaurants and businesses continue preparing for the ETS to take effect, but to wait to implement until a final judicial outcome is certain. We're closely tracking the litigation and we'll keep you fully updated. There was initially a stay halting the ETS granted in the Fifth Circuit, but citing constitutional issues. There were similar cases filed in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 11th. Because multiple petitions for review had been filed in multiple circuits with more expected to come, the rules had called for a consolidation of all petitions into one circuit. They ran a lottery to decide which circuit would hear and decide the various legal challenges. Only one circuit would be selected, and that was the 6th Circuit. Those on the last webinar know that the 6th Circuit is made up of 11 Republican appointed judges and 5 Democratic appointed judges. And so if you oppose the ETS, you might be in good shape. The 6th Circuit court again kind of leans Republican on that issue. And so, yet to come to kind of see what's going to happen. A lot of to be determines there. But what should employers do? Well, many legal experts right now are recommending that employers prepare to follow the requirements of the ETS while litigation continues. It would obviously be tough to find yourself in a position where you would not be prepared for this if the ETS survives. We don't know if this decision is going to make its way all the way up to the Supreme Court. I expect that it will. The Sixth Circuit had said that they will not rule on the Biden administration's request to lift the stay until after December 10th. And so December 10th is kind of the next big date on the radar. The first major deadline of the standard, though, is technically December 6th. And so these legal proceedings are clearly expected to roll right over the Biden administration's deadlines. And so many are saying that December 6th deadline is kind of a moot point at this point, since we're not even expecting a ruling until December 10th. If the stay remains in place as of mid-December, then there's almost a near zero chance that the rule would have to go into effect by January 4th. That deadline for employers, it would just be too little time, and to expect employers to ramp up for that January 4th deadline if a decision doesn't come until mid to end December, it seems unreasonable. And so we'll see what happens there. But again, tune into our webinars, tune into our daily updates. We'll keep you up to date on all of this. The Sixth Circuit review, again, could also trigger a SCOTUS review technically. And so the Supreme Court could get involved based off of the Sixth Circuit's decision here. It depends on how they approach that. And so a lot of stuff still in the works, but PRLA and our national partners are hard at work monitoring all of this, and we will keep you updated as things move forward. Next, state updates. So I wanted to start just with the state of the legislature. There is no session this week in either chamber. There is no session next week. There was no session last week. They typically take somewhat of a recess around the holidays. The House and Senate both plan to return to Harrisburg on December 13th. And so there have been some rumors that the House might cancel a session. That hasn't happened yet. The Senate and House both plan to be back in Harrisburg on the 13th. PRLA recently hosted just yesterday a legislator roundtable event in our Brandywine chapter. It was at the Align 5 location in Westchester, Pennsylvania. Again, with members of PRLA's Brandywine chapter, we had more than 10 legislators attend the event. It was a great and very productive discussion, I thought. I just want to say thank you to all the members and the legislators who were able to attend that event. Not too much more to really update you necessarily on the state level. It's typically been quiet. It's typically quiet in Harrisburg around the holidays, but stay tuned though. I guess one other issue there that I did want to talk about, the frozen dessert law. So big news for those that operate frozen dessert machines. These include things like your frozen ice cream machines, your snow cone machines, but also pina colada mixing machines and margarita mixers. PRLA has been working with legislators in the House and the Senate that would repeal or update the frozen dessert law. The law currently, as is, requires operators to undergo very strict monthly testing requirements. Yet there's almost never been a serious problem detected. And obviously, as you can imagine, these tests can be somewhat burdensome and they're very frequent. Representative Wentling in the House and Senator Ward in the Senate have both announced legislation that would update the law to make these testing requirements less strict. The House bill hasn't officially been filed yet. There was a co-sponsorship memo circulated on the subject, but that bill is expected to suggest entirely repealing the frozen dessert law. Senate Bill 960 was introduced in the Senate by Senator Ward, I believe, this week, and that takes a slightly different approach. And that would just update the language to simply make the testing requirements somewhat less demanding. So this is something that PRLA is working very closely on with both sponsors in both chambers, and we'll continue to keep you updated. Again, stay tuned to the daily update in our webinars and the Facebook and Instagram pages where we will be sure to post updates as they happen. But again, both of those pieces of legislation were announced earlier this week. And so again, another work in progress there. Next up on the list, local updates. So some big news here with third-party delivery fee legislation. There are currently temporary fee caps in place on third-party delivery companies in Philadelphia. 10% for delivery services, for delivery commission, and 5% for marketing and other fees. Councilmember Parker had introduced legislation recently, I think September 17th, that would make those caps permanent for those that chose for them to be. And so This is a big win for PRLA and many restaurants in Philadelphia. And so I'm excited to report that Councilmember Parker's bill number 210660 passed the Commerce Committee yesterday. Movement on the bill came after a hearing on the legislation that took place yesterday. Ben Fletcher from the PRLA team, thank you, Ben, testified. He did a terrific job. Thank you to Ben and all of our members also that were able to testify on the subject at that hearing yesterday. This legislation keeps in place an option for restaurants to permanently have access to these services at the current cap, 10% on delivery and 5% on marketing services and other fees. But if restaurants want to opt out of that cap and opt into more premium services, which we've heard from some of our members would be appealing, and they want to do this with any company, they can do so, and they'd be able to do so immediately. And so this keeps in place the 10 and 5 cap indefinitely for most restaurants that want to use the services but don't feel a need to upgrade services or anything like that. But there's also that option to upgrade to more premium services like they've done elsewhere in other cities if an operator is interested. I just have to say, Councilmember Parker did a terrific job finding a middle ground on this legislation. This is a win for all restaurants, large, small, franchises, independents, and for those operations that are minority owned in Philadelphia, who may see a significant value in a locked rate. This is also a win for the many restaurants out there that may want to opt into more premium contracts like we've seen in other locations across the US. And lastly, we've had a lot of conversation with our third-party partners, and I think this is somewhat of a win for our third-party companies as well that are looking to expand services and operations in Philadelphia as well. We've been working closely with Councilmember Parker and her team on this legislation, and we are thrilled to share that passed committee yesterday, and it will likely get its first reading in front of the Committee of the Whole on December 2nd and could potentially pass sometime this month on final passage. We'll be sharing more info on that bill as well in the daily update. The outdoor dining issue in Philadelphia. As many of you know, Councilmember Alan Dom has introduced 2 bills that would have made streeteries and sidewalk cafes permanent in the city. Now, these bills had been assigned to the Streets and Services Committee. There was a hearing in that committee on November 9th. Thank you again to Ben and our members who were able to testify at that hearing. PRLA and many of our members testified, and council did decide to extend legislation that allows for sidewalk cafes. That legislation that's currently in place addressing sidewalk cafes has officially been extended to the end of December of 2022. And so essentially we bought 14 more months on that. And then this gives us a time to kind of work with council on a permanent solution moving forward. And we have heard from many on council about this issue. There is an appetite for a permanent solution moving forward, but at least our operators have an additional 14 months of some certainty when it comes to sidewalk cafes. Councilmember Dom's legislation addressing streeteries did pass, but with amendments. So the bill would allow streeteries to operate from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 11 on Friday and Saturday. You could not be located in a travel lane or a bike lane. And the amendments kind of change things where now you got to be a little further from a fire hydrant. You have to be 20 feet from a crosswalk and 30 feet from any flashing signal. And the legislation also allows operators to apply by right in most commercial areas in the city. But unfortunately, there was an amendment adopted that does require a council ordinance for specifically carved out areas of the city. And so obviously, this is something that we'd like to continue to work with council to address. However, we are happy that they are having a conversation about a permanent solution for our operators and our members and restaurants in Philadelphia moving forward. So Councilmember Dom is expected to introduce a few amendments on this legislation this week. That would mean that final passage on the bill would be able to happen next week at the earliest. So next up, I just wanted to kind of give some reminders. Act 81, we've been covering that on a few webinars that came. Governor Wolf signed House Bill 425, and that's where Act 81 came from. Act 81 of 2021 is what the law has been signed as. This contains language addressing outdoor seating and off-premise catering provisions. So Act 81, just as a reminder, allows a licensee that goes out of business to sell their liquor and wine to another licensee. It'll also streamlines outdoor seating provisions until the end of December in 2024. It allows restaurants and caterers to extend premises within 1,000 feet of the main licensed building until December 31st of 2024. Businesses obviously would need to request this extension. And as long as there are no valid protests, the LCB would grant immediate operating authority to use the outside area while the board processes the request. So again, this eliminates the $500 fee for off-premise catering permits. It allows an unlimited number of permits and eliminates the 5-hour cap for events until December of 2024. And just to clarify, all of that sunsets in December of 2024. But again, kudos and great work to Melissa Bova for her hard work on getting House Bill 425 and ultimately Act 81 across the finish line. And then the other reminder I kind of wanted to just keep on your radar for our operators in Philadelphia, regarding propane use for streeteries in the city. Earlier this year, the city of Philadelphia did announce modifications to the temporary outdoor dining program in the city. And one of those changes restricts the use of propane to just sidewalk only. And so propane is not allowed in the street or parking lane. It has been reported that the Philadelphia Streets Department has recently issued warnings to operators not in compliance. And so we wanted to just make sure that this was on your radar while we had you at the webinar. And then lastly, this is not included in the slides only because I didn't see the news until late yesterday, but Dr. Oz, if you haven't heard, Dr. Oz, the surgeon and the TV personality, has announced that he is now running also for the US Senate in Pennsylvania as a Republican. And so a few Republicans have already announced their candidacy in this race. And this, again, just as a reminder, is for the seat that would replace Senator Pat Toomey. But many of you might have seen that news that Dr. Oz has officially thrown his hat in the ring. And so just wanted to update you on that as well. Again, that wasn't included in the slides, but thank you all. Really appreciate you joining us today. I'm going to take some time to go through the questions now and see if there are any, but that's pretty much it for my update.
Great, thank you, Zach. Just wanted to mention a few upcoming events and webinars. Next week, the Western chapter will be having a meeting on the 7th of December at 3 p.m. It will be a normal board meeting, but we will also be discussing the proposed updates to Article 3. So please join us if you want to get in that discussion and talk to us a little bit about those updates. On the 9th, we are going to be featuring 4 chefs from the Harrisburg ACF chapter who have done a chopped type of challenge, and we're hoping that people will join us on the 6th to see what they've come up with. We are inviting all the students to come too so they can see how inventive everybody is. We have 2 more Zoom meetings coming up December 15th, and then Zach will be back on the 5th of January for our 2022 industry updates, and Heartland Payment Systems will be joining us that day to do a brief introduction on some information on ERTC. And then on the 20th of January, please join us for our incoming chairman, Tom Neely. We will do coffee with him, with John and himself, talk a little bit about Tom, and what he is looking to do in 2022. Next slide. As always, please just a reminder of training. We do have a full schedule of classes in December for ServSafe. So please get yourself up to date with your ServSafe manager certification and make sure your staff is up to date. Some really great programs like Serve Success, ServSafe Workplace are some additional pieces that you could add to your training. It's online, so it's can be something that your employees do during work or off hours. And then ServSafe Ops. I know Jenna was going to a bunch of meetings this past year to talk about this new application. She will be back in 2022. It's a great way to streamline your training and operations at your facility. And then in January, it is Human Trafficking Prevention Awareness Month. So we'll be doing a bunch of different things in January regarding this, but just as a reminder, we do offer free human trafficking prevention training for your team. This is something that it's available on our website for you to go and take advantage of as a supervisor and as an employee. And as I said, it's free. So please take advantage of it. It's wonderful training that is provided through Best Alliance and through a partnership with the HOA also. On the next slide. is just going to be Zach. If you have any questions to answer, I did answer the Michael Lifer question that came in. So it's all you, Zach.
Yeah, and I do not, I unless I'm missing something, I do not see any additional questions in the chat. And so, John, do you see any questions in the chat?
I don't, and all I can say is great job, Zach.
Oh, well, thanks, John, and thank you, everybody. It was nice to see you all.
Thank you all. As always, we have this recorded. We'll be sending this out later. And happy belated birthday to Zach. Kendra just put up for you. Thank you, and we hope everybody has very happy holidays. Please reach out to us if you need anything. We are always here to help. Thank you. Bye-bye.